What happens when an HOA pushes the wrong homeowner too far? They thought they could bully me with petty fines, but what I did next dismantled their entire board, and cost one of them their house. If stories of power, pride, and payback intrigue you, stay tuned. Because this isn't just about revenge, it's about rewriting the rules of an entire community. When I first bought my home, I thought I had found the perfect community. A medium-sized neighborhood, somewhere between 500 and 1,000 homes, set in a southern state. The dues were low, the rules were minimal, and the property was easily the nicest home I could afford at the time. For me, it was a dream come true. But that dream soured within weeks. One chilly February afternoon, I opened my mailbox and found not a welcome letter, not a kind note from a neighbor, but a violation notice from my HOA. 2 violations, to be exact. 1, my lawn wasn't green enough. 2, my trash cans were too close to my driveway. Now, let's pause for a moment. It was February. Winter. Every single lawn in the neighborhood was dead. Nobody's yard was green. And as for my trash cans? They were neatly placed on the side of my home, maybe sticking out 1 foot past the wall. For this, I was being accused of ruining property values. I brushed it off. Surely, this was some clerical mistake. But March rolled around, and with it came another notice, this time, demanding payment. $100 for each violation. $200 total. Due in 2 weeks. That was the spark. I wasn't just annoyed, I was furious. This wasn't about community standards. This was about control. I called the management company, only to be told I had to appeal directly to the board at the upcoming annual meeting. Fine. I'd be there. And so, a few days later, I walked into a room filled with homeowners, most of them there for the same reason as me. Petty, ridiculous fines. The atmosphere was thick with frustration. Before the meeting even started, I made the mistake, or maybe the blessing, of speaking with one of the board members. He was an older man, 70s, gray hair, hard face that looked like it had been carved by years of scowling. When I explained why I was fined, he sneered and said, "And you should get fined. Young people like you don't know how to take care of their homes. That's why I joined this board, to teach your generation responsibility." That wasn't just arrogance. That was war. When the moderator announced that 3 of the 5 board seats were up for election, an idea hit me. Maybe the best way to fight back wasn't from the outside. Maybe it was from the inside. So, when nominations opened, I stood up. Gave a polite little speech about wanting to serve my community, keep the HOA about people instead of profit. Nothing grand, nothing flashy. But it worked. I won. By a landslide. The scowls on the existing board members' faces told me everything. They hadn't just gained a colleague. They'd invited a wolf into their den. At first, my role was minor. I was made secretary, responsible for notes, records, the boring stuff. They told me I couldn't propose policies, only vote. What they didn't realize was that this gave me a front-row seat to their corruption, and time to plan. I voted down every new rule they tried to pass. But that was just the beginning. The first big opening came from the president herself. A true HOA Karen. One day she proposed a new fine, against flowers that weren't neutral in color. Yes, you heard that right. Turquoise flowers? Fine. Bright red roses? Fine. Because apparently, she didn't like the colors in her neighbor's yard. That was my moment. I started a conversation with the other members on Slack, carefully pushing them to see how absurd this was. 2 actually agreed with her, unbelievable, but eventually, the majority sided with me. I called for a meeting, exposed her abuse of power, and forced a vote. She was out. 1 down. I convinced a neighbor, someone level-headed and reasonable, to run for her seat. With him on board, we had a new ally. Next up, the treasurer and director. These 2 weren't malicious, just weak. Easily swayed. Which made them the perfect targets. I created a fake account on Nextdoor, waited for spring when violation letters flooded the neighborhood, and then went to work. Anytime a homeowner complained, I casually dropped the names of those 2 board members as the ones responsible. I told them to come to the next meeting, demand answers. It worked better than I ever dreamed. At the next meeting, over 50 homeowners stormed in, furious. They grilled the treasurer and director, blaming them for every ridiculous fine. The VP, who had become acting president by then, tried to defend them. Failed miserably. By the end, both resigned in shame. 3 down. Both seats were quickly filled by homeowners who had been at that very meeting, angry, motivated, and ready to roll back the nonsense. Now the board was 4-1 in my favor. The only one left was the man who had sneered at me in the beginning, the VP turned president. My nemesis. He was relentless. Always proposing more fines, more restrictions. Every time, we shut him down. He got angrier, but he wouldn't quit. Until fate gave me a gift. When we switched management companies, the new one brought transparency, records, automated reports, actual accountability. And in the very first fines report, guess whose name appeared? The president's. Unpaid violations. Years of them. Hidden by the old management company. The total? Over $10,000. It was almost poetic. Our bylaws were clear. Any homeowner owing more than $3,000 could face foreclosure if the board voted in favor. And we had the votes. I double-checked everything with the new company, gathered the documents, and called an emergency session. Presented the evidence. 4-1, we voted to begin foreclosure proceedings on the president's home. He exploded. Yelled, cursed, stormed out. Days later, he resigned, paid the fines, and quietly put his house on the market. Victory. Today, I sit as president of the board. But I didn't just stop at revenge. I reformed the system. Maximum fines are capped at $400. Homeowners can appeal online anytime. Grass violations are banned until May. Trash can rules are relaxed. What began as $200 in petty fines became a revolution in our community. And the moral? Never underestimate the quiet homeowner you try to bully. Because sometimes, that stupid young kid you disrespect might just be the one who dismantles your empire.